Hi, welcome to today's weather lesson. I'm meteorologist Alexandra Cranford, and today we are talking about meteor showers. So we already had a weather lesson. Oh no, Ben's doing the same thing as yesterday. We already had a weather lesson where we talked about fireballs. And so today what we're talking about is more the meteor showers. That's kind of what we're talking about instead. So what we are looking at tonight, and actually tomorrow night too, is the Lyrid meteor shower. So this is not really the most impressive meteor shower ever, but it is something cool to think about and talk about in late April. And then there are more meteor showers that are going to be coming up. Oh my, Ben. Trying to get Ben to move away from my little setup here. Yeah, why don't you just go over there? All right, he's off camera. Anyway, what we're going to think about and talk about is the Lyrid meteor shower. So again, tonight, oh, there he goes. Okay. All right. Tonight and actually tomorrow night is going to be the peak of the Lyrid meteor shower, and it again is not super impressive, but I wanted to point out a couple of things about meteor showers. Okay, I think we had our little Ben interlude hopefully over now. So the idea is that meteor showers are almost always labeled or named from the constellation around which the radiant point is. And so the idea with meteor showers and why they're so predictable is because the Earth's orbit takes us through these comet trails, or these areas where there is what we would call comet debris. So yes, Ben, off to the side now. We're going to continue. So comets, of course, are made of ice or rock or dust, and they're just kind of frozen gases, and they kind of leave these trails so that we can predict when the Earth is going to be moving through one of these trails, these little bits of the comet. And as I covered in another weather lesson, they can be so tiny. They can be as small as a pebble or a grain of sand, but these little bits of comets enter our atmosphere at extremely high speeds, and it creates, it lets them burn up. They burn up, they create this beautiful flash of light, and those are meteors. Now, this is the Lyra meteor shower tonight, and so this would be the constellation that you would be looking for to find the radiant point. So the idea is that when we move through these debris trails from these comets, and tonight's comet, or right now's comet, is the comet Thatcher, by the way. But as we do that, there is a radiant point from which the meteors are going to be coming. Anyone have a cat who loves to rub his his or her face against cardboard boxes? Because that's what my camera is set on, and Ben will not leave it alone. Okay, sorry about this. So here's the radiant point for tonight. So if you know the constellation Lyra, it is known partially because of the beautiful bright star Vega, which is the 5th brightest star in the night sky. So this is a really beautiful star to see, and part of this constellation, which is based on a harp. And what you would do is look to the northeast in the evening to see this, and then it rises higher in the night so that around dawn it's at the highest point. So a lot of times with meteor showers, just a few kind of general things with them, we'll say, oh, go outside and look closer to dawn. And part of that is because sometimes the radiant point by dawn has risen higher so that the atmosphere is it's just easier to see the meteors. First of all, because we're on the leading side of the Earth, kind of the morning side at that point. And one thing about that is that the atmosphere is thinner. When you're trying to look off toward the horizon, there's just a lot more a lot more atmosphere for us to look through. And so it makes it a little harder to spot the meteors. In fact, there are estimates that if you look in the dawn hours for most meteor showers, as opposed to evening showers, you could see maybe 2 to 3 times as many meteors. So tonight's, again, has the radiant point near this constellation. But one thing to point out also is that you don't have to look at the radiant point to see the meteors. The idea is just that this is kind of where they would all be originating from. But even if they're originating from here, of course, they're burning up and creating beautiful streaks in all other parts of the sky. So to see a meteor shower, a lot of times we may mention the radiant points, but really you could just look up at the sky in general. There's no really, for many meteor showers, as you may know, if you've ever seen one of these beautiful meteors or shooting stars, there's really no super easy point to look at and know that you're going to see meteors coming from that particular point. So just kind of interesting to know where the radiant point is. For the Lyrid meteor shower, it is near this constellation. But again, you could just look up and try to see meteors pretty much anywhere. So that's the idea with that. One thing that I do hear and that I think myself is, oh, a meteor shower is coming. I'm going to go outside and look, and then there may really not be much to see. This happens a lot, and a lot of people in New Orleans say this, and we know in the city it's hard even to see the stars sometimes because of the lights, of course. They make it difficult for our eyes to see, and then also moonlight. A lot depends on that too. So I made a little chart here, and this information came from the American Meteor Society, and this is, you will see different numbers for these types of things, but a lot of times people will say, okay, if I go outside and I set up in a chair, like how many meteors will I actually see? How many shooting stars? And this is just very, very rough, but you can see that it really depends on where you are. If you have a full moon and you are in the city of New Orleans with this particular meteor shower, the Lyrids in April, you may see possibly 3. Again, it could be higher than that, but this is just very, sort of estimate sort of stuff. If you had a quarter moon and you were in a suburb north of the lake or somewhere even farther north in a rural area, you might see about 5 or so. And then if you had a new moon, which actually we do have a new moon tomorrow night, part of why the shower might not be too bad to watch, and you're in the rural area, you might see 10. But as we know, we go through these different paths of the comets, and so some are more fruitful or productive than others. So if you were to go outside and see a different meteor shower, for example, the much loved by meteor enthusiasts Perseid meteor shower, which happens in August, you would have a better chance at seeing other numbers. You might see 10 if you're in the city, even with a full moon. This would be per hour. Maybe 20 if you have some moonlight and you're in a rural or suburb area. And you might see up to 50 if you're in the country or a rural spot and you don't have much moonlight. So clearly that one can be a really good one to see. A lot of people do like the Perseid meteor shower. And in the fall, August and September, by the way, sometimes conditions are better for seeing meteors in general. And then the Gemini meteor shower, for example, if you wanted to see that one, you could go outside and you can see the different numbers for that. You might see 20 meteors perhaps in the city with lots of moonlight, maybe about 50 if you were to look at a quarter moon in a rural area, and maybe up to about 75 possibly if you're in a rural area and you have a new moon. So just a little something to think about. We may say, for example, on the Eyewitness News, if you guys were joining me at noon, I was talking about the Lyrid meteor shower and I said up to maybe 10 or 15 per hour. So that is possible, but as you can see, the numbers, when you actually factor in where you're watching from, if you're in the city, if you're near a bunch of bright lights, and depending on the moonlight, things can really change. And a lot of times it isn't quite as high, as some of the numbers may optimistically sort of say on the perfect night with all of these good conditions. So we have talked about meteor showers. We've talked about why dawn is a little bit better time than evening to see them. We talked about of course, the constellation Lyra, which is where the radiant point is tonight. We talked about radiant points and kind of some of the best times to see the meteor showers in general, or meteors in general. Also, one thing that I wanted to point out is that tonight's sky can also be seen with the star wheel, which we went over in another weather lesson last week. And for those of you who are interested in where all of these are, by the way, there is a YouTube page now that I have for all these videos, so you can go to it and you can just see them all lined up in a row. You can watch one after the other if you care to, or if you missed a particular one that you're interested in, or if you have a student or a child who is interested in all of these kind of weather and science related topics. And there's a little playlist for that too. So I'll post the link to that after this. Tomorrow we're back with another weather lesson, and tomorrow we are baking again. So I think we're going to make some sort of bread. And I'll let you know what that is tomorrow. Probably an almond bread, I think. So we will be doing that tomorrow at 1 p.m. on Facebook Live here at the WWL page. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of this day. It has been so pretty. Such a beautiful day yesterday. Such a pretty day today. And we've been talking about the higher rain chance on Thursday for some strong, possibly severe storms early in the day. So we will be dealing with that in our weather forecast. But today, of course, the weather is so beautiful in South Louisiana. I know. Ben is just getting really, really bold, isn't he? He has been all over the place. And by the way, earlier in this, when I was trying to kind of push him to the side, he was meowing and swatting at my hand and stuff, as cats tend to do. So he did not like that. I'm seeing some of your comments here. Thank you guys for posting some of these comments. I like to see what you guys have to say. Yeah, people are happy about the nice weather, Mary says. Yeah, I know, it should be gorgeous. So have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. I will see you tomorrow afternoon on Wednesday at 1 p.m. here on Facebook Live. And until then, hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye, guys.